Hello again, everyone. Dave Benson here, Senior Advisor with the Center for Personal Protection and Safety, with a follow-up message from Randy Spivey's really excellent video on how to respond if you find yourself into some type of government detention. Today I'm going to talk about, from a U.S. government perspective, what you can anticipate and some of the things that you can frankly do to, if not avoid, mitigate difficult circumstances if you happen to be detained abroad. One of the things that I'd like to point out, based upon my years as a senior diplomatic security agent serving all around the world, is that you are much more likely to be detained by a foreign government in some capacity than taken hostage, natural disasters, whatever that might be. And the reason for that is different laws, different rules and regulations, and frankly, an ignorance of those laws and how you might need to respond in those circumstances. So we want to spend a little time talk about that today. One of the highest priorities of the U.S. Department of State and their embassies and consulates abroad is to provide assistance to U.S. citizens that might be unlawfully detained or even lawfully detained or incarcerated abroad. So here's some tips to think about. Understand that you are always, repeat, always subject to local laws and regulations while visiting the country in question. You must follow them. This is not optional. You know, the old expression to Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, we're not in Kansas anymore. Well, it's really applicable here. You would really do well to spend some time learning and understanding some of the nuances and legal concerns and challenges you might face when traveling abroad. How those laws might be different. How in some way you could find yourself in a very difficult situation. And by the way, a government detention can be something as simple as a police stop, going through customs and immigration in a foreign country. These are all forms of government detention. It doesn't have to result in arrest and incarceration. So what happens if you find yourself in a government detention situation or an arrest? Ask the authorities to seek assistance from the local U.S. consulate or the American embassy. This is absolutely critical. Governments, whether we have a bilateral agreement with them or some other treaties, may not automatically remind you of that, and certainly aren't going to take it upon themselves to notify the host government. We're seeing this now in Russia with the Brittany Griner situation, that not only was there a detention, that there was a delay in notifying our government, and now we hear a delay in them actually being able to provide assistance and see Ms. Griner. So when a U.S. citizen is arrested overseas, you're going to be confused, you might be angry, disoriented. These are unfamiliar surroundings, and you may not know the local language, customs, and legal system. So this is what the United States government can do. Provide a list of attorneys who speak English. Local, very important, because you may have your friendly attorney back in the United States. He or she may not have jurisdiction in this international situation, so that's very important. They will contact family, friends, or employers, meaning the U.S. government, on your behalf, but they must have written permission from you. And so when this happens, you are very likely going to be handed a version of a power of attorney where you're giving them permission to basically share this information on your behalf. Absent that understanding, they may not be able to share that information. Ask for visits. Let them know how you're doing. If there's any health concerns that comes with that. Other visits may be from not just other lawyers or clergy or other humanitarian groups. You can ask, but there is no necessary legal obligation for them to do so in a particular country. And the ability to help you transfer funds if it's needed for your defense, or whatever it might be for your repatriation, depending on how the circumstances go. I want to be very clear. There's some things that the U.S. government cannot do. They can't get you out of jail blanketly. This is not a get out of jail free card. They can't stipulate on your behalf to a foreign court that you were guilty or innocent. So you telling them that you're guilty or innocent of a certain situation is not relevant to the U.S. government trying to help you, because they're not going to be able to intervene in that capacity. They can help you provide legal advice, representations for U.S. citizens in court, interpreters, translators, all those things can be helped, and pay medical, legal, and other bills. They can't do any of this. And so we need to be very clear. It bears repeating. They're not going to get you out of jail blanketly. They're not going to stay as to your guilt or innocence to a court. They can't represent the United States or you in court. And they can't serve as official interpreters or translators and pay legal, medical, and other fees. One thing that really makes a lot of sense before you travel is to research your destination. Those of you that have worked around me or been my clients in the past know there's no substitute for researching that destination. Understand what the do's and don'ts are. Another one I will mention without going into great detail, I think it's self-explanatory. If you have certain hurts, hang-ups, and addictions, leave them in the United States. Many of these countries have much stricter laws than we do in the United States. That isn't helpful in this type of situation. And also enroll in the Smart Traveler enrollment program, sponsored by the U.S. Department of State. And before you ever travel abroad, let the State Department know who you are, where you're traveling, if appropriate, provide an itinerary. Why is this important? Because if for some reason you're detained or you turn up missing or we have a natural disaster, the State Department may not know you're even in country with you or your party. So it's really important that they know, and I can tell you firsthand from being a 4-time RSO abroad, when we've had natural disasters or other serious situations such as terrorist incidents, the first thing we go to consular affairs and find out who is in the country that we know about so we can put you into the queue, so to speak. So if they don't know who you are and that you're visiting, it makes it that much more difficult to be able to assist you. So I hope this has been helpful. We don't ever want you to be lawfully or otherwise detained by a foreign government, but if it happens, prepare yourself on knowing what to expect beforehand, what are the unique nuances in the country or the region that you're going, and what your rights are versus what they aren't. Have a good day.